So for our box drill, the first move is always going to be 8 counts forward. We're going to move 8 counts forward with that roll step, rolling through heel to toe, all the way until count 8 when we need to change directions. On count 8, instead of landing on your heel, you're going to actually plant the foot, which means your toes and the ball of your feet are going to hit the ground first, planting your foot firmly in the ground and pushing off of it to change directions. Our first box drill, we're going to go forward and to the right. So our left foot is going to cross over our right foot into what we call a crab, because we're moving side to side. This position, when we're crabbing to our right, the right foot is always going to be behind. That means when we step out with the right, we're going to come to this open position, but our right foot is slightly behind our left foot. And so when we're crabbing, our left foot's going to slightly stay in front, and our right foot's going to slightly stay behind. Our heel is going to track right over our toes when we take a step. This entire movement is all on the balls of our feet. I don't want you to be too high because you're going to lose your balance, but you also should not be rolling back onto your heels. So when we're crabbing, our feet need to stay facing forward and parallel to each other. So our tendency is going to want to be to kind of curve our feet in a certain direction. I need you to think about really getting them parallel and straight with each other. When you're going to the right, you don't want to point to the right. Everything should still be facing forward. The same is true going to the left. The other thing we're going to want to do when we're crabbing is often shift our hips in the direction that we're facing. I need you to think about pulling your hip back. So if you're moving to the right, you got to pull your left hip back, face forward. If we're wearing drums, this becomes even more obvious and more important because we need the drum to face forward. So you're going to crab to the right, 8 steps, and we'll land in an open position, planting our right foot, getting ready to move backwards. From here, we push off our right foot and move our left foot back. When we travel backwards, it's also all on our toes. And so your toes just track, hovering over the ground, stepping back, and landing on the balls of your feet. So when we're going backwards, we want our feet to be tracking in their own ski lines, or like in their own slots of a toaster. You don't want them to be overlapping each other. You want them to have space. If you do this, you're like walking backwards on a tightrope. Don't make it harder than it actually is. Just think about keeping them in their own ski lines, going straight back. You don't want to roll back into your heels. It's not a reverse roll step. You will fall over, and it's not going to be pretty. Once we take 8 steps back, we'll land in this position with our left foot forward, our right foot back. Now we need to move to the left. This one's pretty easy. You just move your left foot over. We're getting ready for a left crab. In a left crab, your left foot stays back, and your right foot stays forward, in front. And so your right foot's going to cross over your left foot on count 2. Same idea here is that our right foot, our heel is going to track over our toes as our left foot stays behind us, and we move to the right. After we move 8 counts to the right, we're going to land in this position, in a cross position, because we just stepped on count 8 with our right foot. And we're going to need to bring our left foot forward for a step forward with our heels, with our toes up. This is kind of a little bit of a swing around motion, but I want you to minimize the movement as much as possible. You don't want to have a big swing. You're going to mess your upper body up, right? We want to think about keeping this nice and stable, coming forward with our toes up to move forward another 8 counts. Some really important things to remember about the box drill. It really challenges our direction changes. And anytime you get to count 8, I want you to think about pushing your energy and your weight up. Lift up out of that step rather than thinking about switching directions. Because if you can move up and kind of stop all your motion, then this foot can then start taking you in a new direction. Another important thing to remember is that we don't really want to round out our corners, right? So if we're coming forward and we need to move to the right, we don't want to swing this foot around, and we don't want our bodies to kind of round around that corner. That's why it's really important to think about lifting up out of that count on count 8. The direction change doesn't happen on 1, it happens on 8. You're landing here on 8, and immediately your body is like met with a wall, and you need to start pushing in the other direction. The same way that when we take our first step, we have to push on count 8 off of the right foot to get our left foot there in time is the same idea with the direction change. When we get count 8, we already need to be thinking about moving in the other direction, or we'll never make it there in time. To finish out all of the movement, once you've done 8 more counts to the front, you're going to plant both feet back in first position. So it's the same thing, except that on count 8, instead of your foot facing forward, your foot's going to have to turn out and land here first, and then bring the feet together so you land in your pizza slice. It's really important to remember that when you're planting here, you're going to have your toes down, and then your heels come down last.